Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. We are doing a September reading. I got a haircut, my hair is extra short and my roots are super aggressive, so let's just like not pay attention to that. I read 7 books in the month of September. 2 of them are actually on my Kindle, so we'll talk about those after. I was having a really good reading month. Let's turn this up actually. I was having a really good reading month at the beginning of September, and then towards the middle of September I hit a major reading slump, and this is why most of these books were actually read at the beginning of September, and then I think I only read like 2 books at the end of September, which is still good. I know numbers don't matter, but I wanted to read more books this month, and no, I did not stick to my TBR, in full disclosure. So let's talk about the very first book that I read this month. Second book in the Magnolia Parks universe, which is Daisy Heights by Jessa Hastings. You might have heard me talk about this book many times before because I did a reading vlog on it, but I'm just gonna briefly tell you guys what it's about. So Magnolia Parks universe is pretty much Gossip Girl set in London, so you follow quite a few characters. You have the found family trope, you have this one has a big mafia love trope too, so just lots of good stuff. I liked it. It wasn't my favorite one in the series. I gave this book, I think, a 4 out of 5 stars. This one talks about Christian in Daisy Heights, as you can tell by the title. And I mean, it was a fun book. It just wasn't my favorite one out of the series. I think because I'm already talking about this series, I will then talk about the fact that I did finish the last book that's already out for this series. So there's only 3 books out. There is Magnolia Parks, there is Daisy Heights, and then there is Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home, Magnolia Parks. So this one, I know it looks like a children's book cover, but it's not. This one actually goes back to Magnolia and BJ Valentine, and this one's really thick. It's over 500 pages for a romance book. It's a very long book. A lot of stuff goes on in this book. I'm not gonna spoil it, but the ending crushed me, so lots of trigger warnings for this one. Lots and lots. Every single one of the characters. I really hope the next book comes out because I have become so attached to these characters that I just can't wait any longer for the next book. And so kind of on the same note, I feel like I read a lot of books that had a very similar trope. Found family, addiction, a lot of trigger warnings. I read the Addicted to You, which is the first book in the Addicted series by Krista and Becca Rishi. This book has been on my TBR forever. I read it for a challenge that already went up, and I kind of gave you my thoughts about it. There's some trigger warnings in this book, just look them up because I don't want to go into detail about them again. But pretty much this is found family. There's a romance, there's fake dating in it. There are quite a few characters that I feel like we're gonna be following in this series. I only own book number 1. I bought this book back when, well, you can see this is the edition that they had, I think like 2 years ago, because it was sold out for a while. But I did buy this quite a while ago and I DNF'd it at first. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. Don't come at me, I know that everyone loves this series. I've heard that the series gets better in the second book because I really like Gossip Girl, and I've heard this is very similar to Gossip Girl. I will like to continue reading the series, but right now I don't really feel like spending $15 on a paperback. How much Ricochet costs, and it's not even available right now. I have to wait until like October something to buy it, so I'm just gonna wait on it, and I feel like I have to really be in the mood for this one. But I do want to continue the series. It was quite a fun read. I forgot to say that I gave Magnolia Parks The Long Way Home 4 out of 5 stars. It was kind of missing the 5-star factor for me, and that's why I don't know what it was. Maybe it's that it took me so long to get through it and I wasn't really enjoying the first 100 pages of the book, but now I think I have to think about it for a little longer. As of right now, this one's 4 out of 5 for me. I have done reading vlogs for almost every single book that I read this month, and I talked about all of these books already besides the last 2 that I think I'm going to talk about, the ones I read on my Kindle. This is The Final Gambit. If you don't know, the Inheritance Games is one of my favorite series of all time. Here, I have been talking about the series forever, and this is the last book that she said it was going to be the last book of the series. This book really let me down. I don't want to spoil it for you guys. You know what? At the end of the video, I'm going to be talking about the spoilers for this book, because I didn't do it in the reading vlog, but now I feel like if you read it, we can just discuss the spoilers at the end of this video. So as of right now, I would say I give this book 3 out of 5 stars. It just really let me down. I feel like it was a lot of the same. It took me forever to read, even though the chapters are super short. I did tap it though. It was just not the perfect closure for such an interesting story. Characters that we've been following for quite a little while, and I just expected more out of it. My expectations were like super high, which I feel like that was the case for almost every single book that I was anticipated to read this year. They've all let me down, so now I'm gonna lower my expectations because it just wasn't the vibe. At the end, I'll be including some spoilers for this one. Just wait for that. Then the last physical book that I read this month was the first book in the Shadow Me series. I really enjoyed this book. Went through it quite fast. I did tap it. This was actually the first book that I ever tapped. I'm gonna continue the series. I already have book number 2. I love Warner even after book 1. And I've gotten some mild spoilers that the second book kind of gets more into it, and this one as well. I haven't had time to like really get into the series so far because I was going through a reading slump, and sometimes dystopian and fantasy series do kind of get me in a reading slump. So I'm taking my time with book number 2, but I really liked it. I gave it, I think, I might have given it 3 out of 5 stars, but that's just because it wasn't my favorite, but I did really enjoy it and it did make me continue the series. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars actually, so that's pretty good. I'm gonna continue the series. This is a dystopian YA novel about this girl that if you touch her, you die. That's all you need to know pretty much. It's a very popular series. It's by Tahiri Mafi. If you don't know what the book is about in detail and you want to read the description, I recommend you look it up, but it's a pretty good series and it has a cult following as well. Those are all the physical books that I read this month, and then I think I have 2 or 3 books that I read on my Kindle. So there's 2 more books. Okay, let's just get into those. So there's one book, this is probably my worst read of the month, and that is Layla by Colleen Hoover. I'll put a picture over here. I was reading / listening to the audiobook of this book for a challenge that I did. I think I was reading for 24 hours or something like that, and it was such a weird book. Like, a lot of people were comparing it to Verity, and it's like nothing like it. So pretty much there is a ghost situation in the book. There's kind of a cool plot twist, and that's the only reason why I gave this book a 2 out of 5 stars, because I usually don't rate my books lower than a 2 star. I don't think I've ever given a book a 1 star. But there are books that are 2 stars for me, and this one is one of them. It just wasn't, I think this is my lowest Colleen Hoover book rated book ever. Usually all my Colleen Hoover books have 3.5 stars and up. This one just wasn't it. I don't know how to explain this book without spoiling it, but it pretty much follows a musician and this girl, and they meet at a wedding and they fall in love, and they don't get married, but they fall in love and something traumatic happens, and then they go to the place where they fell in love, and then this ghost character kind of pops up. So 2 out of 5 stars for me. This was definitely the worst thing I read this month. Probably the worst book I've read in a very, very long time. It's just, and it surprised me because Colleen Hoover books usually really hit the spot for me, but not Layla. So I personally don't recommend this book. If I rate a book lower than 3 stars, I just don't recommend it. I recommend this book. I feel like it was a waste of my time. Very cheesy, very weird. I don't even know what genre this falls into. Just, it was not it. This is a book that has a lot of mixed reviews, and I personally just kind of encountered upon it because I was looking for Kindle Unlimited books to kind of get me out of a reading slump. When I get in a reading slump, reading on my Kindle really helps me get out of it, and this was a book that they get me out of a reading slump for quite a little while. I read it in like a day and a half. This book was amazing, and that is The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. I need to find another book by this lady because this was one of my favorite thrillers, mysteries that I've ever read. I give this book 5 out of 5 stars. A lot of people don't like this book, and then a lot of people really love this book. I feel like there's not like a middle ground where people just like give it like a 3 stars. There could be. I don't even know what the rating on Goodreads is. It's actually 4.05, which is not terrible, but I gave it 5 stars. I love this book. So this book is about this couple. They're like the perfect couple. She's a lawyer, he's a writer, and then something happens and he gets accused of a crime that he says he didn't commit. Involves a person that kind of gets in the way of things. That's all I'm gonna say without spoiling it for you guys. The plot twist along the way, and then the last plot twist of the book just made me gasp. One of the best thrillers ever, to the point where I want to get the physical copy and annotate it, reread it with the physical book, because it was just so good. I highly recommend this book. If you take a thriller recommendation to get you out of a reading slump from this video, let it be The Perfect Marriage. I really loved it. Let me know in the comments if you've read that one, because I know a lot of people have mixed reviews about it and I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. And that brings me to the end of this video. Those are all the books that I read in the month of September. It wasn't the best reading month, but it also wasn't the worst reading month. I actually thought it was going to be worse. Disclaimer though, it doesn't matter how many books you read in a month, as long as you enjoy it. It's a hobby, so don't feel pressured by BookTube or BookDog about reading more than 10 books a month or anything like that. I don't even do it, and it's part of my job on here. And yeah, so just read as many books as you want, as long as you enjoy them. That's all. My dogs are barking at a delivery person, because there's not a delivery person that comes to this house that they don't harass, so that's the noise in the background. So now, big spoiler warning, I'm about to unpack spoilers for this book. So if you haven't read this book, click out of this video, because now I'm just gonna be talking about the spoilers for The Final Gambit. I'm gonna start by saying I was Team Grayson. I still am. I'm really disappointed with the fact that she didn't end up with Grayson. I feel like her and Grayson's love story deserved more of an attention. Even if she was going to end up with Jameson, why didn't she give more time to that love triangle to develop? It was the most unnecessary character I have ever seen in a book. I feel like maybe she thought we were gonna enjoy the plot twist, but no, it was terrible. I did her character. I was suspicious of her since the beginning. I'm like, there's no way this is gonna end pretty. She doesn't have good intentions. Just not gonna happen. And then it felt really repetitive. Like, it almost felt like book number 1 with this, when they start kind of doing the whole solving the mystery and stuff like that. Old man's puzzle and this other old man that also liked games. I'm like, why does this other guy needed to pop? And then the fact that Toby had to stay in that house and stuff. I think I need another book. Like, there's no way this is it. If you're Team Jameson, I don't know, is that how you say his name? I have no idea. But why didn't they give the love triangle more time? The way that it ended on a love triangle cliffhanger in book number 2, and then they didn't even reference that almost at all in this book, I was like, that makes no sense. Say that there's no way this is the last book. I had already heard that people weren't enjoying it, but I was like, maybe they just don't get this serious. Maybe they're just not fans of the Inheritance game series. But I can see why people didn't like this. And if you start reading the series and ended it on this book altogether, maybe you liked it because it was new. But if you were waiting for this book for a whole freaking year, then I'm almost guaranteed that this book probably disappointed you, because it was very disappointing. And I hate that, because I rated the first 2 books 5 stars and then this one 3 stars, and I don't like that. Why was it so bad? It wasn't bad, it just was disappointing. And I know this is a very biased thing to say, because I am Team Grayson, but aside from that, I just feel like it was really lacking. Not plot, the plot was great. Like, I know this is what these books are known for, but I didn't like that the romance just completely got discarded because of this new character and everything. That all the attention was almost dragged to her and Grayson's situation, and then we barely even got a lot of sneak peeks of Jameson and Avery's relationship, so it just made no sense to me, honestly. So yeah, that is my rant. I hope you guys enjoy this video. In the comments if you would like to see more videos from me, and let me know how many books you read this month or what was your favorite book of the month. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye guys.